Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another recording of Hearthstone. Today is Wednesday, April 11th. We are dancing around whenever the next expansion is going to be. We've seen the cards. We're uncertain when we will be allowed to open the cards. And so in the meanwhile, we're covering news, doing daily quests, and just in general trying to accomplish things in life. So one of the things that the new update has changed is no longer is it a red X for the Asian or European accounts. So I imagine when we get to the Americans account, it will also be the same arrow refresh image. So we'll trade that out. And we're doing new quests. So destroy 25 minions for 50, destroy 65, do 65 damage to the enemy hero, and a Tavern Brawl, which is not going to be too difficult at all, really. If that's all I gotta do. The Tavern Brawl just gives me random cards, so I'll just play with the Warlock again and move on. And I'm mostly just going to try and cover as much news today, I think, until we've done everything that needs to be done today. And then I'm going to take a break. I'm not going to try to record any Darksiders 2. I haven't done any Darksiders 2 footage since the last time I streamed because instead I did special Hearthstone expansion of the Witchwood expansion coverage, which is on my channel. Those videos could use some thumbs up and some views, certainly. But in general, those special videos, I would like them to get a lot of views and a lot of new people in on my channel. They generally do perform better than any random video on that airs on the weekdays on my channel, but more views would certainly be better. Rock Paper Shotgun has an article, Steam overhauls privacy settings, locking Steam Spy out. Lots of people talking about this. Let's see if we can dig a little bit deeper into this article though and find out what is actually known and how is it going to ruin Steam database and how is it going to ruin Steam Spy. See, Valve has override the privacy settings for Steam user profiles, letting us hide more data and setting more to be hidden from strangers by default, including the list of games you own. Good. Period. Well, the way to editorialize in your article, Rock Paper Shotgun, literally just says good, period. More online platforms should default to hiding personal data. We can now hide our playtime on games if we want to, so our pals, e.g., can, e.g., like, why are you going to use ergo here? So our pals can ergo see that we own The Binding of Isaac Rebirth, but not know that we've played it for ergo 871 hours. In case we feel ergo shame about that. Not me. I'll tell you, it's just that good. In parentheses. Wow, this is a terribly written sentence, and you would not use ergo in any of those instances. It's like, maybe the first instance makes sense. The third instance is not correct at all. It's like he was writing for example 3 times in that sentence, and some editor that doesn't know how to edit came back and said, for example is too common, let's use ergo instead. And then let's make it even more confusing and not write ergo, instead we'll just write eg. It's ridiculous. Ridiculous. Let's ask a simple question on this, by the way. Let's see. I haven't played enough of Binding of Isaac on the Steam account. For comparison, Darksiders 2 I've left out running for 300 hours, and by far the largest game I've left running, so I don't see why people would really care about the runtime, is Time Clickers has been running for 17,909 hours. And it's running right now on my computer. I don't feel any shame that that game is just that I've let it run that long. No shame at all. Like, I guess there are some sensitive ones there, but my take on this, and this was kind of always my take on my personal Facebook thing, and I was very late to the party on Facebook, is like, if I'm gonna friend somebody, I'm just gonna show them who I really am. So I really take the idea, if like a real world equivalent of this, if I was gonna friend somebody and they were gonna come over to my house in the real world, I very possibly might just open the door not wearing anything but underwear. I'm just going to show them up front. I'm just going to say, this is me, this is what I do in my house. If you're cool with it, cool. If you're not, you're not. You might as well get the kiss off done early in relationships. Like, there's really no reason to try to keep relationships maintained, but only under the guise of some level of controlling the amount of information you let people know about you. Like, that feels more like if you were dating somebody, you might not let your deepest, darkest secrets known to somebody you're dating on the first date, but even then, that's it. So I'm sure there are people who have asked to friend me on my personal Facebook, and then they've just unfriended me relatively quickly after that. So the hours thing doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I see it freeing to be able to say information, and not a bad thing, really. But let's see. So the next paragraph is, this does have the knock-on effect of locking out Steam Spy, the popular non-Valve site, which scans vast numbers of public profiles to estimate how many people own the game and how they play it. In a secretive industry, it's one of the few ways to have a sense of how well a game is doing. The question here is Steam's new privacy settings going to default people that already have a Steam accounts into going from open right now to private? Because that's really the only way that ruins Steam Spy. Like, and that means then I need to go change my Steam account so it's open again, because I want everybody to see all the games I have. I want people to see all the hours I'm playing. That's part of my YouTube channel in a very small way, is that people can friend me on Steam and go, oh, he's playing this, so maybe in 6 months he'll have coverage of this game, because I'm recording content so early now. Let's see. Valve explains the list of all games on your Steam account, games you've wishlisted, your achievements, your playtime. The settings also control whether you're seen as in-game and the title of game you're playing. This does make sense if you're playing in some kind of strict country where you're not allowed to play certain games. My example of last recording is if you're playing Doom and Doom is banned in your country, having these privacy settings helps people like that. So I'm glad it's an option, but I really feel like they're crying wolf here more than anything with Steam Spy being shut down. And see, I got that Tavern Brawl done early. So let's go ahead and dust 4 of these, and then see if we can find a new one here quickly this is not the way to do this. It is way faster to type in new, even on the European account where I don't have too many cards. Like I very possibly have already breezed past it. Yep, this is not the way to do this. Just type in there. There it is. So we got this. Good card. Pretty good card. Pretty good classic card. And that certainly is more evidence that I probably should open 50 classic packs more than opening 50 of the Witchwood packs for my European and Asian accounts. They're missing a lot of classic cards. So we just are gonna play ranked again and get the daily quest done. I am noticing, we'll just stick with the Murloc theme too. I am noticing that the daily quests we got for the European and the Asian accounts were all 50 at most, and I much prefer some of those be 60 gold. Let's see. You can set game details to be visible to everyone, only to people on your friends list, only to yourself. Oddly, not a friends of friends list, which might be helpful. Friends of friends being the Facebook system where it's mostly public, but it locks out people who are completely unheard of accounts. It doesn't help too much, but it probably helps a little bit with fake spam accounts. It means if somebody like sends you a fake spam friend request on Facebook, it's because somebody else already accepted that fake spam account that is a friend of you. Let's see. Thanks to an error, you can't currently change that from within the Steam client or some browsers. The privacy setting menu is broken in both Steam and Chrome for me, though it does work on Microsoft Edge. Yep, that's a big mistake. Valve says they're planning to give Steam an invisible online status option where you'll appear as offline. I thought it already had that. I guess maybe. Well, you'll appear offline, but you'll still be able to view your friends list and send and receive messages, which I'm not sure what the real usefulness of that is, honestly. Right now, as I'm playing Darksiders 2, there is this serpent message totem that is in the game that originally was tied to the Xbox messaging systems, Xbox Live, but it's very weird to play it on PC and Steam, and I don't know if you can send messages at all through it, and even if you could, you'd have to send messages to, I assume, one of your Steam friends who also has Darksiders 2, the definitive edition. So it's rather pointless thing now, although they do have a couple things. Like minis, there's a quote here, like many features, the privacy options came directly from user feedback. Some have speculated that this might be related to the General Data Protection Regulation, the GDPR, a European law focused on making companies be more responsible with our data, which comes into effect in May. And there might be some truth to that, although legally you only have to follow European law in European countries. There's no reason why anybody who doesn't live in Europe would have to have their data protected, but practically it's easier just to give the feature to everybody than to force everybody in Europe to go to steam.eu instead of steam.com, so that their data is protected. And it wouldn't be the first time that Europe who is rather focused about privacy more than Western people are, clearly, that they passed some kind of law that affected the whole world in potentially positive or potentially negative way. Setting everyone's Steam library to be private by default does cause problems for third-party sites. So, one tenet of the GDPR is having personal data be private by default, making users opt into sharing rather than opting out of sharing, giving consent, not withdrawing it. Whatever the reason, it's responsible to keep data private by default. Steam should hide more, really, according to this writer. I'm trying to figure out what this writer would have had a bad experience on Steam, so bad that they felt the need to hide so much from their friends. I feel like Steam Spy is going to be fine. I think this is mostly hysteria. If 50% of people they stop getting data from 50% of the people on Steam, then they can just double their numbers and still make a pretty accurate estimate. Even if they only get numbers from 10% of the people, while that is a much smaller sample size, it's still going to give you a decent amount. What it might change for us is when I look at games on Steam and I say it has a peak, or all-time peak of 1, that whole database, that whole plugin may stop working, or it might be just inaccurate, and all the new games will always say they have a peak of 1. Most new games say they have a peak of 1 anyways, because the only person who's ever played it is the person who put it up there. So I guess it's something to keep your eyes on. If you want to make your Steam account more private, probably now or the relative future would be a good time to go change those features and see if they're more private. If you want to actually share information with your friends, then you might need to go in there and make yourself a little bit more public. Particularly for a Steam account, it really seems silly. Maybe this is something, here's some crazy speculation. Maybe this is the first step to Steam, who wants to be more of a media producer also and sell movies and TV, and they do that, but not too many people actually subscribe to it and buy that content. Maybe this is the first step to Steam selling adult movies, and having an adult section. That would kind of make sense in this crazy speculation. If Steam had a adult section of games and they were going to sell games on uncensored, you probably don't want to proudly announce that. Although I'm sure a few people wouldn't mind. And if you're renting adult movies on Steam, particularly if, say, you're in a country that is censoring or blocking like Amazon and Netflix and well, I don't know if Amazon or Netflix actually have adult movies on them. If your options are slim because a lot of websites are blocked, you might get to Steam and that might, if there was an adult content on there, that might be a new avenue, certainly. That was an argument I was listening to, is people talking about, and I'm trying to get some feedback from fans, whether they think I really need a website. Someone was talking about how you do need a website, and they were promoting the idea. An advertiser who, advertisers think they know everything, and maybe they do, maybe they don't. But one of the reasons why they said having your own website might be helpful is if people are at college campuses, or more likely high school campuses, that are blocking youtube.com, and you have your own website, you might be able to embed those videos on your own website and still have people watch it. Maybe, depending on the level of skill of the person blocking the websites and how committed they are to it. Like, there was one instance where I was working a previous job, and some manager who didn't really have the authority to tell the IT guy in the first place to block websites. He told him to block like basically all websites, including internal websites that were needed to do the job. But he didn't really care about whether it was blocked or not, so he blocked it in a very simplistic way. And since I'm well educated in computer programming and computers in general, and I was also friends with the guy, we were talking about that, and he goes, yeah, I did this really simple thing, and you want me to tell you about it? And I go, no, don't ruin the fun, I'll figure it out myself. And so I went on the computer and spent about 30 minutes doing the classic movie hacker thing, typing on 2 keyboards at once, looking at the screen. No, I wasn't doing any of that. I simply looked into the internet options and the proxy, and he had simply changed the proxy script page to the wrong URL, the wrong website, and I just changed it back, and it worked. And then it fixed it, and the manager got upset about it, and then got yelled at for not being authorized to do it in the first place. I mean, it was really a ridiculous job to be upset about anybody getting on the computers and browsing the internet, because the job was micromanaging all the employees down to the exact second. Like, the computers were looking at the exact second you logged in, the exact second you logged out, and micromanaging it down to that point, which, if you're ever in a job that's micromanaging you down to even 15 minutes, they're really just trying to get you to quit and harassing you. So nobody really had any time ever to be on those computers. Anyways, maybe during a lunch break, maybe during a 15-minute break, you could look at like one website, and that's it. Hardly people playing Fortnite. I'm not even gonna look at this Eurogamer article called "A Peek Behind the Curtain of Video Game Publisher Politics." That would just get me upset almost certainly, and I don't see any reason to. I'll maybe read it after the stream. Next Eurogamer article, a Wii U game is coming out. It's called Shadow Anarchy, and it will launch for free. It looks like a bad NES game, so it's a sequel to a game called Shadow Archer from the same Nintendo fan developer Ultra Dolphin Rev. So it's some fan developer is making some bad NES looking games and putting them out on the Wii U. And I guess that's probably because he was developing it for the Wii U when the Wii U made sense to have development for it. But now it's rather ridiculous, since he should have been able to port that relatively easy to the Switch, but I guess since it's coming out for free, he didn't care either. Speaking of probably not caring, Bullet Witch is coming to the PC. Boy, I pronounced that oddly. Bullet Witch is coming to the PC on April 25th. It includes all the costumes and bonus missions as that were downloadable content. Bullet Witch is to quote here, a Japanese dark fantasy and Western style military action game developed by Cavia, and it was first Cavia, C-A-V-I-A. Never heard of this developer. It was first released on Xbox 360 in 2006, nearly 12 years ago. The thing about Bullet Witch is because this is a game that I bought used for the Xbox 360. And I believe I may have gotten it for as little as $1.99. It is one of the worst games I have ever played. The concept is kind of cool. I mean, it was probably an asset flip before the concept of asset flips really were established. So I could certainly see people not realizing it. You're playing as this magical witch girl carrying a very large, I mean, it's a very large gun at all times. There's a little bit of spells you can do, but from what I recall, you mostly spent all your time walking through some very poorly animated city like rubble, fighting, I think, monsters, although there's some like tanks that you're fighting right now and military. It's almost like the opposite of Bayonetta because one, it wasn't successful at all. They printed way too many copies, clearly, because I got it used for like $1. In a time when you would have gotten a used game for at most maybe you could get one down to $5. This game was 1/5 the quality of all the other bad 360 games. So it has this like historical reason that you might want to play it. In fact, I might want to get it. But I certainly don't want to get it at its release price of $15. That's just insanity. It does have that like sex appeal, sex sells, pandering to it, which they do to all games when they know it's not really going to work or make any money. And that's why they're talking about costumes in the game in the first place. Right now on Steam, it of course doesn't have any user reviews, but this is hardly a remaster or fix. You are going to have a pretty bad experience. It is like in every way Bayonetta is its better. It really is. It's very strange that this game would ever come out, and it's being released by Marvelous, which is also the developer of Little King's Story and Xseed Games. So this is really just probably a re-release to make some money. Let's see, Xseed Games is the maker or the publisher of the Senran Kagura series. Yeah, let's just do this. Take this guy out. But then Xseed also puts out the Yi series and Akiba's Trip, which is a good game. Well, an interesting game at least. So that is definitely the publisher you would want. And see, this is where you would really want somebody else to play a game when you're talking about Bullet Witch. Do not for a second play Bullet Witch or pay any money for it. It is an awful game. But maybe watch somebody else suffer through it. Like, it really does, looking at it at Steam, just feel like it's an asset flip. If you didn't know that this was a 12-year-old game, which you won't know because the release date is being mentioned as 2018, it's just going to be so laughable when people call this a horrible asset flip. Alright, moving on. I kind of have some fond memories of Bullet Witch, just in the fact that it's it was such a bad game. Like, it definitely was one that stuck in my head. There's a lot of mediocre games I've played where it's like, did I play that? I don't remember any bit of it. It wasn't terrible, so bad that it irritated me, but it wasn't great. So good that I remembered any part of it. Let's see. There's another game, according to Gamatsu, called Nobunagas. Nobunaga is the first word, apostrophe S. Ambition, Taishi, Taishi. It's coming to the West for PS4 and PC, and I think it's probably going to need to come to the West under a different name. Interesting. Alright, we've got one more victory we need to do. Says Switch version not announced for localization. So I guess it's the PC and the PS4 version that are coming to North America on June 5th and Europe on June 8th. Let's see. It's apparently the 35th anniversary of this series. Nobunaga's. Oh yeah, Nobunaga. I know him. Now that I worked it out, yeah, Nobunaga's Ambition. Okay. It's a historical simulation gameplay allowing players to relive some of the most epic battles and notable events of the Sengoku era in Japan. Okay. That now we know what kind of game this is. I'm a little surprised that this game would come to the West. Like, I suppose maybe it's gonna feel like the Japanese version of Epic Battle Simulator, or maybe there's some other kind of element to this game that has things. It says, let's see, the strategies do not only focus on military campaigns, but also managing the production facilities and trade routes to continuously expand territory and increase the strength of the army. Okay, so maybe I'll keep an eye out for Nobunaga's Ambition and look at it just to see if it might be good. We have another game called Maelstrom that came out on the 11th. Mostly positive, 75% of 12 users. It's from Gunpowder Games. That's our first game. 10% off for $17.99. Early access. This is an Unreal game, and if you use Unreal, you can certainly make your game look nice. This looks like a real game. It doesn't look like an asset flip, but it certainly also sounds rather expensive for yet another pirate game. Although, to be fair, pirate games at least have a chance of succeeding now that Sea of Thieves seems like it has failed. Although, that may just be the first one to fall. The all-time peak, according to SteamDB, is 151 players on this multiplayer game. I guess in general, I don't have to worry about it since it's a multiplayer-only game. That I just don't cover multiplayer only games. I cover story and content written by the creators of the game, not the players. Next game we have is called Nova Wing 2. Suborbital Software. They've made about 5 games. Let's see. And this is 20% off for 79 cents. And it looks like a Galaga ripoff. Really? Yeah, maybe with some slightly different controls, but also this looks like just a college level programming project. It doesn't look like what I expect as a finished product it should be to be sold on Steam. We see too much of this. All-time peak of 2 people, 12 achievements, so it's not an achievement game. It is 79 cents, which is probably close to the lowest price you can have, but no reviews, and I certainly understand why there'd be no user reviews. Nobody's gonna buy it in the first place. There's a story here from PC Gamer. It's called Excellent Grandma Tribute. Liev Oma is free on itch. Pay what you want for this short sweet story. So if you want to go to itch.co or itch.com, whatever it is, and play Liev, that's Lieve space Oma, O-M-A, you can do that. We'll watch the trailer. But since I'm a strictly Steam game critic, I only keep games, try to keep all my games on the Steam account, and since this is a free game and there's really no reason to criticize a free game, this looks like it's mostly going to be just conversations set in a few areas where you're walking around with your grandmother, and the animation is not hyper realistic or anything. It's just a stylized kind of cartoony 3D CGI. I don't know if that's probably not the right way to pronounce it, to describe it, but whatever. Let's move on. So it seems like I'm gonna have to go and change my game library and all my settings again on Steam. I'll do that later. Let's see. Apparently somebody's got a thing about writing articles about grandmothers, because PC Gamer has another article where it's, quote, "You're a goat herding grandma in melancholy farming sim, The Stillness of the Wind." The follow-up to Where the Goats Are. This game, The Stillness in the Wind, is due out later this year, so this is another one of those PC games where PC Gamer articles where they're talking about a game that literally has no information that can be construed that's useful. And the animation style again is just simplistic 3D CGI. I'm starting to wonder if this might be even the same creator, and they Where the Goats Are is on itch, and it's Name Your Own Price. Where the Stillness in the Wind is going to be on Steam, so that puts me in an awkward position too, although I'm not sure I'd particularly be interested in this game anyways. I guess I'm gonna have to follow some games and just see what happens, see if I could get more coverage and more images just to explain it. Next, we have a PC Gamer article. The Piano is a post-war survival horror murder mystery. That's a lot. It's due out in May. Let's watch this trailer. Well, this looks a little bit like Dishonored. It's 3D realistic graphics, but it is this new style of slightly below what is acceptable quality graphics, really down to the point where it's an artistic style that I'm having a problem with more than anything else. Like well, there's just like less polygons than there should be on the hair is often what I see. Well, this game, the piano, is due out May 24th. Again, I need more pictures. I'm looking at a trailer and it looks like it could be good, it could be bad. We already talked about this, but we'll talk again. The deck building dungeon crawling game Hand of Fate 2 gets an endless mode and some new challenges. So I imagine now you could pretty safely buy whatever the complete collection, whether that is Hand of Fate 2 plus the season pass, or maybe they have just a complete collection to buy. I think you could probably do that. And if it has an endless mode, I think that means that we're going to be at least 2 years, if not 4 years or more, until we see a Hand of Fate 3. Which is fine, because Hand of Fate 2 came out really quickly after Hand of Fate 1. And I think there was... well, I think there was probably some engine reasons why that was necessary to happen, just to have smoother, better fighting mechanics in Hand of Fate 2 versus 1. I think they need to now settle in and think of some new story and some new concepts and twists that they can do there. But alright, let's see. Next game we have on Steam is called Maxi Pool Masters VR, and one user has reviewed it. It's 15% off for $2.54. It's got a probably asset flipped girl, very low polygon, girl standing in the corner while you're playing pool, or playing pool with a iPad and playing pool. Like, if it really worked, playing pool in VR sounds like a great idea. But this looks janky and crooked, and it looks like you're gonna tilt your head. You're never gonna get the angle right. Your eye level is way lower than it would be if you were actually playing pool. Here they just showed an image of picking up the cue ball and throwing it, which is not allowed at all. So yeah, I'm not really interested in this early access game that requires VR that's $2.54. Let's scroll down and see if we can, like, there's one in Russian that's positive and one in what looks like German that's negative. And I would be more likely to believe the negative review, because the graphics don't look good here, the mechanics don't look good here, the concept is a little crazy, and there are a couple of big players in the VR video game for pool. Like, I've covered some pool games and they do it pretty well. It wouldn't be too hard for them to make a VR version, and I think one of them already has. So why would you play some no-name pool game in VR when you could just as easily get the tried and tested one? Next game we have on Steam is called Hungry Fish Evolution. No user reviews. Only game from this developer. 40% off for $1.19. And as best as I can see, this is... It looks like it's trying to be a kid's game with coloring fish and asking questions about fish. It might be a cell phone port. It says it's a colorful mixture of RPG, arcade, and runner. about the survival fish that you will love. The graphics though look bad, and I really feel like everything they are showing me right now is everything that they have to offer. Yeah, so this doesn't look visually appealing to a kid. And this really only looks like a game that would be a kid's educational game. And I don't think educational games work at all very well. Moving forward, Shell Games is looking for a senior audio developer. I'm not going to go through all of this, but the position would be Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. Shell Games is a highly talented group of artists, programmers, producers, and game designers, according to the description, led by game industry Jesse Shell. Never heard of him. Let's see. Let's look on their website and see if we can see what games they've actually worked on. Well, one's called I Expect You to Die, one's called Happy Items, one's Daniel Tiger's Stop and Go Potty, Domino World, Water Bears VR, Holo Lab. These are a lot of licensed. Orion Trail VR, Enemy Mind. I believe that was a fake game on Steam, or something. Like, I have that game, but I'm pretty sure it was total garbage. Yeah, there's about 10 games here, none of which look good. So take that with what you know. Let's see. This is probably an article that nobody really needs to read, but Your Gamer has an article, why Below, the game Below, has taken half a decade to make, and the quote is, making a game is obscenely challenging. Like, okay. Next game we have is called Baseball Kings VR. It's from somebody who has gotten several other sports style VR games, and the cover art looks good. Like this, unlike the pool game, doesn't look like a cheaply made VR game. There is some effort here in this. And I could certainly see the idea of wanting to play baseball in VR. It's early access right now, no discount for $14.99. I certainly see the idea of wanting to play a lot of these sports games in virtual reality, so that you don't have to go out to like a baseball field or find several other people to play with you. But then you also have the problem of, if you're playing baseball in VR, you're probably swinging your arm around, you're probably going to fling the controller around, and it's still not going to feel that real. But then, that being said, maybe this would be a good way to practice on rainy days if you wanted to be a professional baseball player, or maybe make it to nationals in like a high school or college degree. There's an interesting level of difficulty selector on this trailer. You select several different bats with different skins, and then some of which are very ridiculous, such as a tennis racket. And then you click play, and then it's level of difficulty. And easy is like a kid animated in a baseball suit. Normal is a regular male baseball pitcher in a baseball suit, and hard is a female pitcher in a baseball suit, which I don't think that's accurate. I'm pretty sure that the on average, just because of differences in muscle mass. The male baseball players are throwing the balls faster and harder. Maybe because of that, that means you can get more home runs if you can actually hit the ball. But I don't think I can justify making the argument that female professional baseball is the more difficult sport compared to male baseball. Certainly it's not watched. Also, interestingly, in the background of the game, there's a TV screen running some kind of VR ad for the PlayStation VR. It's like a live action commercial running in an animated thing. This is kind of the first VR use in game I've ever thought about. So I'd say if you already own VR, look at the Baseball Kings VR series. They also have Ping Pong Kings VR, Squash VR. They all have come out relatively recently and don't seem like they have too many ratings. There's Archery VR, Tennis Kings VR, Archery Kings VR, Baseball Kings, Badminton Kings, and Squash Kings. I think they're going to run out of games pretty quickly. So we still need one more victory and to destroy 2 more minions, which isn't too much, actually. We can get that done in the next recording, and if I don't get another victory, it's not even really a big deal because we could do that on Friday. Although I kind of would prefer to get more done now just in case something comes up. We so far know we can't open card packs. If it turns out I can open card packs on Friday or Thursday, that'll be weird. And that'll mess up my plans a little bit. Anyways, that's it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. When you subscribe, make sure you hit that notification bell. Stay tuned if you're watching live. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a bunch of links down in the description box. And if you want to support me even further than that, friend me on Steam and gift me a game or gift me a gift card. One of the games on my wish list, preferably. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.